There comes a moment in every man's life when he looks in the mirror and doesn't recognize the face staring back. For me, that moment came in 1993, on a cold winter morning in Los Angeles. I woke up on my apartment floor, still wearing yesterday's clothes, with a pounding headache and a bitter taste in my mouth that wasn't just from the hangover. In that reflection, I saw something that terrified me. A man lost, surrounded by everything people call success, but empty inside. Hollywood had given me fame, money, recognition, but it had also taken something I didn't even realize I was losing: my humanity. No one prepares you for the moment you realize your life no longer belongs to you. Every word, every gesture, every breath gets analyzed, judged, and sold. Piece by piece, you start selling yourself until nothing's left of the person you once were. But this isn't about how Hollywood broke me. It's about how I discovered that being broken can be the first step to becoming unbreakable. I used to think strength meant never falling, never showing weakness, never admitting fear. I grew up without a father, so I learned masculinity from movies. Tough guys who never cried, never doubted, never cracked. What a lie that was. There's a myth that success makes you immune to pain, that fame and money create a protective shield. The truth is the opposite. Success magnifies your insecurities and isolates you in ways poverty never could. When I was struggling, waiting tables, auditioning for roles, I had something priceless: anonymity. The freedom to fail without the world watching, the ability to be human without it ending up on the front page. But once you cross that invisible line into fame, everything changes. Your humanity becomes a liability, your authenticity a marketing tool, your pain entertainment. In 1991, Point Break catapulted me into fame I never imagined. Suddenly I wasn't just Keanu anymore. I was the Point Break guy, the next big star. I remember my agent telling me, "You're not a person anymore. You're a brand, and brands don't have personal lives." At first I laughed, but soon I realized he was right. Every relationship became a career strategy. Every friendship was filtered through, "Is this good for my image?" Every moment was suffocated by PR calculations. Big budget films and leading roles kept pouring in, but with each script I felt my soul dying. These weren't characters, they were products designed to sell tickets. Here's what nobody tells you about early success. It's addictive and terrifying. You believe your own hype but live in constant fear it'll vanish if you make one wrong move. So you stop taking risks. You stop being creative. You become a machine replicating your last success. I remember sitting in a meeting where executives discussed me like I wasn't there. The Keanu brand must stay consistent. No experiments. The audience expects a certain type of performance. That's when I realized I was betraying myself. Every yes to a hollow project killed the actor I dreamed of becoming. The breaking point came on set one day. In the middle of filming, I had a panic attack in front of 50 crew members. I collapsed, unable to breathe, whispering, "I don't know who I am anymore." Some looked away, others pulled out their phones. Even in that moment of collapse, someone wanted to profit from it. That day taught me a truth I'll never forget. Success without authenticity isn't success. It's just a prettier prison. I knew I had a choice: keep being a well-paid puppet or fight to reclaim my soul, even if it cost me everything. But before I could fully act on that choice, life gave me a harsher lesson. River Phoenix wasn't just a friend. He was the younger brother I never had. Sensitive, brilliant, vulnerable. We shared the same dreams and the same doubts. When he died of an overdose at just 23, a part of me died too. Hollywood mourned him with crocodile tears. At his funeral, I saw the same people who had pushed him into the darkness whispering about what a tragedy it was, while calculating how it affected their projects. River's mother was broken beyond repair. His siblings were lost. And I was filled with rage. Rage at the industry, at the system, at myself. I had seen him struggle, but I hadn't known how to save him. How do you rescue someone from a machine you're trapped in yourself? That guilt nearly destroyed me. I isolated myself, turned down projects, disappeared. People said I was having a breakdown. Maybe I was. But in that silence, I found something I had lost: my own voice. I turned to philosophy, to Eastern teachings, to anything that could help me understand. I learned that suffering comes from attachment. River was gone and no rage could bring him back. But his death gave me clarity. Authenticity isn't optional. It's survival. And then came the hardest loss of all. After The Matrix, my career was at its peak, but my personal life collapsed. Jennifer and I lost our daughter Ava, who was born prematurely. 8 months later, Jennifer died in a car accident. In less than 2 years, I lost the two people I loved most. Hollywood kept spinning like nothing happened. The offers, the events, the publicity machine, it all went on. But I was destroyed. Grief consumed me, not just as sadness, but as complete obliteration. Every morning I woke up and for a split second forgot. Then it hit me all over again like a wave. I looked around my mansion, this house I had bought to impress people who didn't care about me, and realized all that success meant nothing without love. The house felt like a mausoleum, every room a reminder of dreams stolen away. That was when I made one of the most important choices of my life: to let go of the illusions. To stop measuring success by fame or wealth, to give, to live, to stay true, because in the end, all the money and recognition in the world mean nothing if you lose yourself or the people you love. The media called me crazy, naive, someone who didn't understand money. They were wrong. I knew exactly what money was worth and discovered it was far less than I thought. Money buys comfort, not healing. It buys distraction, not meaning. It can buy adoration, but it can't buy love. After losing what truly mattered, I'd rather be genuinely poor than artificially rich. You find out who you are when you lose everything you thought would define you. I wasn't a movie star or a millionaire in that moment. I was just a man trying to find meaning in pain. There was a purity in that simplicity I hadn't felt in years. In 2008, I did something everyone said would end my career. I returned to theater. After years of blockbusters, I signed on for an off-Broadway play for $500 a week. My agents were horrified. "You can make $10 million per film," they said. That was exactly why I had to do it. I'd forgotten what it meant to be an actor, to be vulnerable in front of a real audience with no cameras, no second takes, no CGI to hide mistakes. The play was Shakespeare, brutal and unforgiving, but in front of New York audiences who can smell insincerity from the cheap seats. On the first night of rehearsal, I was terrified in a way I'd never been, exposed with no safety net. I was bad those first weeks. I forgot lines, missed blocking, was out of sync with the cast. Seasoned actors looked at me with a mix of pity and irritation. The New York theater community is brutal because they care deeply. Many had trained at Juilliard or Yale and spent years honing their craft for little or no money. Here I was, a Hollywood face trying to walk onto Shakespeare and own it. One night, during intermission, the director pulled me aside and said, "Keanu, I know who you are in the movies, but here you're just an actor trying to tell a story, and tonight you're not telling it very well." Those words could have destroyed me, but instead, they liberated me. For the first time, I heard unvarnished honesty about my work. I had a choice: get offended and walk away, or do the one thing I hadn't done in years, truly work. I chose to work. I studied, practiced, asked for feedback, arrived early, stayed late, and treated every rehearsal like it mattered more than anything. The transformation was slow, painful, often humiliating. But gradually I remembered why I fell in love with acting. Not for fame or money, but for the joy of disappearing into another person and finding truth in fiction. Opening night terrified me. Critics were poised to pounce. But something happened on that stage. All the humility and hard work created the space for something real to appear. I learned that humility isn't defeat, it's the start of real growth. When I stopped protecting my ego and accepted that I had so much to learn, I rediscovered my love for the craft. Then came the darker lessons. There's something I haven't said publicly until now. After all the losses and the stripping away of identity, there was a long, dark period when I seriously questioned whether life was worth living. In 2010, on a brutal anniversary of Jennifer's death, I was alone, drinking and standing in my garage looking at my motorcycles. For a terrifying moment, I thought about taking one out with no intention of coming back safely. The thought hit so clearly it scared me. I sat on the garage floor and cried for hours. Not the kind that brings relief, but a deep, guttural sorrow I didn't know existed. In that darkness, I realized something. My pain wasn't only about loss, it was about my resistance to loss. I had been trying to think my way out of grief instead of feeling my way through it. I had been spiritually bypassing, using ideas to avoid the work of grieving. That night I made a different choice. Instead of running from the darkness, I sat with it and let it teach me. The weeks that followed were some of the hardest and most transformative of my life. I stopped trying to get over grief and started learning to integrate it. Jennifer and Ava weren't chapters to close. They became parts of me that would always exist in a new form. Sometimes the only way out is through. The darkness I had tried to avoid wasn't my enemy. It was the cocoon for a new self. There's something powerful about hitting rock bottom. The fall is agony, but the ground there is solid. You stop falling and begin building. Over time, a pattern revealed itself. Each crisis stripped a layer of false identity and nudged me closer to who I really was beneath the Hollywood construction. I'd been living to meet other people's expectations and had lost my inner compass. Every breakdown was my soul calling me back to authenticity. Two versions of me emerged, the polished, predictable Hollywood version and the childlike, curious, vulnerable version. Each time life broke me, it let the false self die and the true self be reborn. The cycle, attachment, loss, suffering, surrender, rebirth, kept repeating until I understood that the person I'd tried to preserve wasn't worth saving. That person was an ego project. The real me was simpler and more resilient. I began to see life as a series of experiences happening to awareness. I am not the experiences. I am the one experiencing them. That shift changed everything. After decades of this work, a few truths have crystallized and I want to share them. First, your identity is not your job. I spent years confusing the actor with the man. When I separated the two, I found pieces of myself I hadn't known existed. Second, failure is information. Every mistake and flop taught me what success never could. Third, pain is inevitable. Growth from it is optional. I could have let loss destroy me, but I chose to let it rebuild me. Fourth, authenticity beats acceptance. Being loved for who you are matters more than being adored for a performance. Fifth, simplicity is sophisticated. Love, friendship, purpose are simple. Courage makes them so. Sixth, money amplifies what you already are. It doesn't change you. It reveals you. Seventh, grief is love with nowhere to go. That truth changed everything for me. But the biggest lesson is this: holding on to success, relationships, even identity, is the recipe for suffering. Everything is temporary. Fame can vanish. Love can change. Pain is intense but not permanent. The person I am today will evolve tomorrow. There's freedom in accepting impermanence. Once I stopped living in fear of losing what I had and began living in gratitude for having experienced it all, everything shifted. Suffering isn't the opposite of happiness. It's the path to wisdom. Wisdom isn't about avoiding pain. It's about learning to dance with it. Western culture treats pain as a problem to solve. Eastern wisdom invites us to meet pain as a teacher. That doesn't mean passivity, it means responsibility. It means responding rather than reacting. Resilience isn't bouncing back to who you were. It's using what breaks you as material to build someone stronger, wiser, more compassionate. Every scar is a teacher. Every loss opens space for something new. Every time life has forced me to my knees, I discovered strength I didn't know I had. I'm not the same person who woke up on that apartment floor in 1993. I'm not the same person who collapsed on a movie set from panic, or the one who sat in that gouge wondering if life was worth living. But I'm not separate from those versions of myself either. I contained them and I learned from them. Each of those moments was necessary to become who I am now. If you take one thing from this, let it be this: you are stronger than you think. I know it might sound easier coming from someone people call a famous actor with resources most don't have. But when I was falling, it wasn't those external things that saved me. It was finding inner resources I didn't even know existed. You have them too. The ability to reinvent yourself after failure, the strength to keep going after loss, the wisdom to grow through pain, and the courage to be authentic in a world that rewards pretending. It doesn't matter where you are right now, how many times you've fallen or how far you've strayed. It's never too late to come home, to who you really are beneath expectations and fear. Being broken creates cracks where light can come in. Every scar you carry is proof you survived something that tried to destroy you. Every time you got back up, you revealed strength you probably didn't know you had. Hollywood tried to break me. Life tried to break me. I tried to break myself. But I discovered something simple and fundamental. Some of us aren't made to shatter. We bend, we learn, we grow, and we emerge stronger and wiser. The journey isn't over, and not for me, not for you. Now I see every fall as the universe preparing me for a higher flight. If someone like me who lost so much and failed so often can find peace and purpose, anyone can. The choice is yours. The strength is already inside you. It always has been. Nobody tells you strength doesn't come from never falling. It comes from getting back up again and again until rising becomes who you are, not just something you do. Your story isn't finished. Your potential isn't used up. Your chance to transform isn't gone. It might only be beginning. Sometimes the most beautiful version of yourself is waiting on the other side of your worst day. Courage isn't the absence of fear. It's feeling the fear and moving forward. It's choosing love over fear, growth over safety, truth over comfort. Every person listening has the capacity for this kind of courage. You can turn your pain into wisdom, your scars into strength, and your failures into fuel for something magnificent. The world doesn't need who you think you should be. It needs who you really are. Your authentic voice, your perspective, your unique story of struggle and triumph. So wherever you are, whatever you're facing, whatever has broken you, remember, you are more resilient than your circumstances, more powerful than your pain, and far more valuable than your worst day would have you believe. The best version of you isn't behind you. It's being forged right now in whatever fire you're walking through. Trust the process. Trust your strength. Trust that every ending is also a beginning. I discovered muscles I didn't know I had. I gave away almost everything I owned. Not out of virtue signaling, but because I realized money couldn't buy the peace I needed. What mattered was connection, meaning, and this work of becoming.